Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news as we discuss some pretty, good news, an update from an agent around a striker that Manchester United may well be looking at in this January transfer window. We'll also be talking about Dalot, what's the situation with Dalot's injury, and a few other bits this Saturday morning as well. Sorry I'm a little bit late. You can probably tell by my throat. I was out last night, so I'm a little bit tender, but not too bad. I wouldn't describe myself as hungover, Stephen. I had a nice few drinks and a nice curry and a late night, but I'm feeling rather fresh this morning. And we've got some fresh news for you as well. It's coming in from, we'll talk about Ander Herrera a little bit later, Dylan. I mean, for me, I know these podcasts are interesting. Man United have done a podcast with Ander Herrera. I really liked Ander Herrera, but I mean, I do feel like it belongs on MUTV. It's the History Channel and it's interesting. And I suppose at Christmas time, you do start thinking of the past, but I'm very motivated on the future. Who's our next owner going to be? Are we going to buy players in January? Can we get into top four? Can Ten Hag take us back to the top? I'm a massive nostalgia merchant, but I'm not really interested in Ander Herrera should have stayed here, this, that and the other. I said it at the time and a lot of people said, no, that shouldn't. That shouldn't have happened. There was a lot of people at the time who said, we can do better than Ander Herrera. And I said, we shouldn't be letting him go. And people were going, we can do better. And we never bloody replaced him. And some people need to listen to people at the time. Anyway, let's get on with it. We're going to start with this story from Fabrizio Romano coming from Yusufa MOUKOKO's agent, Patrick Williams. Now, Yusufa MOUKOKO, you might have heard him a bit this week, 18 years of age, was part of the German World Cup squad. Sort of a breakthrough player for Borussia Dortmund, out of contract in the summer. So literally in 2 weeks' time, when January the 1st kicks in, he could speak to any club outside of the Bundesliga for free. He could speak to Man United on January the 1st and we could offer him something and then he could be a Man United player in the summer, but we could offer him the deal in January. Of course, everybody else could do that. Real Madrid, PSG, Barcelona, Chelsea, Liverpool, everyone can do it. Now, the indication and my belief is that this won't happen, but because I think he will stay at Dortmund. But however, apparently Dortmund have offered somewhere between 5 and 6 million euros a year, which is about 100 grand a week for an 18-year-old. Pretty good. But this is what his agent had to say. I can confirm that we are currently not closing in on an agreement with Borussia Dortmund to sign a new contract. That is from his agent. Dortmund do have to act fast, as Fabrizio has said, because there's a to make the right bid, or English clubs will push hard in January. His agent goes on to say that look, there are rumours of this offer from Dortmund for 5 to 6 million euros a year. No, the numbers are not correct. MOUKOKO is interesting for all the top clubs in this world, even more so when he's on a free transfer and has a future with the German national team. Now that is an agent about town. That is an agent putting his clients out there, and basically they might want to stay at Dortmund, but what they're saying to Dortmund is, we want the money, because if you don't give it us, you're losing money and he's going to go elsewhere, which would be very un-Dortmund-like. If you look at Dortmund, what they did to us with Sancho, what they've done with other players in the past, Dembele to Barcelona, they got 135 million, didn't they? What did they do? Well, Haaland, they got the Haaland ahead of us, and then they obviously cashed in on him going to Manchester City. It's not Dortmund-like to go and lose a player that could get them tens of millions of pounds in a couple of years' time for free. And I think what the agent is doing here, and I still wouldn't get too excited about it, to be honest, but it's only my interpretation. What you've got there is, and some people won't like it, but it's the modern game, the agent basically knows that they've got Dortmund like that. And they're twisting a little bit. They're twisting, and they're sort of making Dortmund deliver or offer what they want. And Dortmund are probably going, do we really want to pay an 18-year-old who's just broke through 120 grand a week? Well, they're probably going to have to do it because there will be somebody that does. He will want first-team football. That would be a problem at Manchester United, Chelsea, Liverpool, or anywhere like that, Arsenal. But, if a club can offer him a first-team path and 120 grand a week, then that might be what the agent and the player prefers to Dortmund if Dortmund aren't going to cough up. And I think it will be interesting to observe. I still do not think Manchester United can get into this race or want to get in this race. If Ten Hag still wants Timber, sign him or no, says Dark Warrior. Yes. And Mark, I think Gakpo is just another Dutch Rashford. I think your standards have dropped and Arsenal risen as we are going for Felix and Mudryk, says Sain Miassi with his daily Arsenal. Some would interpret it as daily something else, but there you go. So look, MOUKOKO's agent has given a big update. It is a boost if you want MOUKOKO at United or Chelsea or Arsenal. That agent is putting it out there that in 2 weeks' time we're ready to talk. Maybe they'll talk anyway. Maybe they won't sign anything with Dortmund. Maybe Dortmund will put something good on the table and they won't sign it because they'll be like, let's see what's available in a couple of weeks' time. Maybe they just want a good deal from Dortmund and they'll sign that. But it's certainly a very public statement from an agent and player who's in a position of power, who's basically saying, show me the money. And if Dortmund have offered 100 grand a week and they're going, we're not close, that means they want a little bit more than that. Should United be stepping into a race to give a player that's 18 140, 150 grand a week to win the race? And my honest interpretation is I don't know enough about the player to be 100% sure, but I don't think we should be giving 150 grand a week to 18-year-olds. I don't, because that's sort of what's got us into the financial mess we're in at the moment, where we pay £350 million a year on a wage bill, and I look at the squad and go, that's not good enough to get top four. So we need to stop spending silly money, but it doesn't mean we won't stop spending silly money. Mark, thoughts on the centre-back from Morocco we were linked with? Says Ryan, I wouldn't go for any player from Morocco. Nothing against them. I just don't believe in, buying players off a World Cup. Do you see us winning the league in the next 5 years? Says Escape Artist. I think it's like predicting if it'll snow next Christmas, not this Christmas. I've got no idea, mate. It's impossible to forecast what might happen for Manchester United in the next 5 months, in the next 5 weeks, let alone the next 5 years. If we were purchased by the right owners who wanted to invest like our rivals already do, we have got the right manager. It will probably take 3 or 4 years to get to the point where we can compete. But yeah, maybe we could win the league. But if we continue down the path we're on, I don't think so. On a lighter note, DC says frozen pizzas aren't half bad. Yeah, I wouldn't touch one of those. That's my tip of the day. Don't eat frozen pizzas. And morning to Susan and everyone else and all the mods in the chat. Please sign MOUKOKO on German. He is our future, and for free it would be great with Garnacho, says Exa. And Man United and all clubs need to stay away from this one if the agent's playing games against each other, says Daniela Stewart. Well, welcome to the world of football. We've just literally spent a few weeks talking about what's the ideal ownership model for Manchester United. And the ideal ownership model for Manchester United is probably very rich owners. And yet we can talk about what we would like to see there. And then you've got an agent. I mean, he's in a great position. I mean, I've got to be honest. I don't like the mercenary angle of football. I'm old school. I remember football in the early 90s, the late 80s when the Premier League didn't exist. And, footballers used to drive around with cars on. You would literally get a player like, Brian McClare driving around in a Ford Escort saying Brian McClare drives a Ford Escort sponsored by, the Ford dealership near Old Trafford. That's how, that's what footballers used to do. Their wages weren't ridiculous. They were more community. Their sponsors were more local. Nowadays, you've got a youth player driving around in a Maserati. It's a different world, and I preferred the old world, but footballers are changing, and I've got to be honest, if I was the agent of MOUKOKO, I would sit there and do the same thing. You've got to get the best for your client, but you also get a percentage yourself. That agent could be on 25%. And he's that's how it works. So he will want the biggest slice of the pie he can get. And you're 2 weeks away from being able to pick up the phone to Manchester United or Bayern Munich, and let's not forget Bayern Munich, by the way. I don't know why Bayern Munich aren't being mentioned in relation to MOUKOKO. I know they can't speak to in January because they're in the same league, but it's not like they can't speak to the agent and say, just run the contract down, we'll take him in the summer. Like, I know officially Bayern Munich can't do that, but it goes on, doesn't it? So, look, I suppose the bottom line is, Do I think that Manchester United can sign MOUKOKO? Yes, because I think there is a possibility he will be a free agent in January to speak to Manchester United and clubs outside of the Bundesliga. Do I think Manchester United will sign MOUKOKO? No, I don't. I don't think we can win those sort of races. I don't think we want to win that sort of a race. And I also don't think MOUKOKO is thinking about Manchester United. I think he's got a different idea. Probably to stay at Dortmund, but probably not Manchester United. So I don't think it can happen, and I don't think it will happen, which is a shame because, as I said, that Fofana deal that Chelsea look like they're going to do with Mulder, I think it's a really exciting deal to do if you're a Chelsea fan, to take an 18-year-old that looks really good from the Norwegian league and bring him over to your club and see if you can nurture him. I mean, that's typical Potterism, and I want to see Ten Hagism. I want to see Ten Hag sign an 18-year-old who he believes is going to be the next big thing, but I don't think we're going to do it with MOUKOKO, if I'm honest. Any news on the DM position? Let's get rid of McFred, says Augustine. And can I just say as well, we are live at 8 o'clock tonight. I get very excited about that because I love the 8 o'clock show, and it's 8 o'clock and there's no football tonight. There's no World Cup. The World Cup 3rd and 4th place game, which we are covering, is at 3 o'clock on That's Football. 8 o'clock show tonight is back. There's a Sky Germany tweet about this situation, Mark, says Jack Hammer. Jack, tell us more, because I'm not going to go searching for that. I mean, we know what the agent has said. My personal feeling is they just want more money out of Dortmund. I was told, was it 3 days ago, by somebody in Germany, a journalist, and they said to me that the feeling is that he wants to stay at Dortmund. It's the right place for him to stay for the next couple of years, establish himself at Dortmund, get into the German national team, and then when he's 20, make a big move where Dortmund make money, he makes money, and he goes somewhere as a first-team striker. Robert McCormack's just seen Brian McClare driving around in a Ford Escort. Great. And we need to start finding them young players as Tumbleweed. I think we will. I think that is part of the Erik Ten Hag evolution, and I think we will do, yes. Thanks for the super chats this morning, by the way. Tumbleweed is also a member. If you want to join the members club, you get a little badge next to your name, which you can see in the live chat, like Gavin Conroy, who says, have a good day, Sally. And you support the channel. You also get extra content as well, and some exciting things coming up next year. We've also got our weekly quiz that we're putting up there as well, where you can take us on, the members of the United Stand. And yeah, as soon as the football's back, we'll have some extra deep dive stuff where I go deep dive into the stats. We have Ganacho, says SMMS, yeah, he's not a striker, mate. Any news on the Delo injury, says Solid Blake, who is a member. So, Delo update is this. He's back at Carrington. He was back at Carrington yesterday. He's back to assess the hamstring issue that took him off the Portugal quarter-final a week ago. They are running scans and tests to understand the extent of the injury. So, as much as it's a positive thing that he's back, obviously Bruno and everyone else is not meant to be back until Monday. He has come back early. This is a sign of the player Delo is. When he was at AC Milan and the COVID thing was going on, his work rate and attention to improving his game and fitness was meant to be extraordinary. He's a very dedicated player and a credit to himself and Manchester United. And it's no surprise to me that he's back early at Carrington to try and assess this injury. But there isn't a positive update. He could well be still out for a month. He could be out for no time. Like, they're running the tests to understand what the problem is. I think the feeling is we'll be very lucky if we see him play for United again this year. Now, obviously, that sounds very, very scary, but obviously this year's only got 2 weeks left. He was injured last Saturday. Was it Portugal went out? Saturday or Sunday? Sunday it was, wasn't it? So he was injured last Sunday afternoon, and he's not even had a week yet. A hamstring problem, normally somewhere between 2 and 6 weeks. So realistically, we probably won't see him until the new year, unless he gets away with it and it's not a particular bad injury. Let me just get rid of that idiot there. So yeah, we no doubt we'll get an update on Delo in the next couple of days. It normally does come out, but yeah, it will be very interesting to see the extent of that injury, because if it is significant and we are looking to move on Aaron Wan-Bissaka, what are we going to do at right back? Pletty has also just given an update about an hour ago. Thank you to Jack Hammer about the MOUKOKO situation. He said, on MOUKOKO, Chelsea and other top clubs are ready to make the next step as soon as he would decide to leave Dortmund as a free agent in the summer. Player won't accept the current offer as revealed. Man United scouted him and monitoring him as well, but Chelsea is hotter. Remember, Chelsea are already looking at, as I said, this Fofana guy from Molde, though. So does that preclude that deal, or would Chelsea go for 2 up-and-coming 18-year-olds? It seems a little bit greedy. It's like going to the... it's like the waiter coming out, isn't it, and saying, "What do you want for pudding? I'll have the sticky toffee pudding, and I'll have the the cheesecake." It's like having 2 desserts. I can't see that they're going for both of those. To be honest with you, a few people talking about Sesko. Interesting player, Sesko. Obviously, he's a Salzburg player going to Leipzig in the summer. There was a talk about Leipzig might sell him without him ever playing a game, but I don't think that'll happen. I think Leipzig can take him for a year next year and his value will go up. So I don't see that happening, to be honest with you. Fofana is actually 19, says Funky, but the point still remains. And Carl says, does that mean we'll bring Ethan Laird back? Maybe. Maybe that is an option. Nigel Pearce says, why can't Garnacho be turned into an out-and-out striker? Why would you want to, Nigel? I don't. What should we do with Iqbal? Turn him into a centre-back? I don't see the point. Iqbal looks like being a good midfielder. Garnacho looks like he's going to be a good, creative player, whether it's as a wide player or potentially a number 10. I don't see Garnacho turning into an out-and-out striker, because his natural attributes are running at people, taking people on. There aren't many strikers that do that. I mean, R9 was an exception to the rule, but if you want to run at people, you need to be a little bit deeper. You need to play. It's like Rashford, isn't it? I think Rashford, when he's got the ball at his feet and he can run at somebody, he's dangerous. When he's up front, he never gets the ball to his feet to run at someone because he's playing with his back to goal or he's sprinting onto a long ball, and that tends to be what a striker is. It's more movement. As a striker, it's about movement and finishing and hold up and link up. Whereas a winger or a 10, it's about head up, movement, yes, but you can dribble, and I think that's what Garnacho's all about. So, yeah. Stanley says, please talk about Varane, Mark. I'll tell you 2 things about Varane. Apparently, he's suffering with a virus. There's a bit of a virus going around the French squad. Obviously, the World Cup final tomorrow. He's expected to play in that. Another thing I'll tell you about Varane, I think he's been absolutely disrespected by the British media again. I saw Sky had a team of the tournament and put Harry Maguire in it. And I wanted to throw up. I mean, I'd had a lot to drink at the time, but I did want to throw up. I was like, what are you... this stuff is dangerous. No wonder Eddie Howe doesn't have the audio on when he watches a game of football. I've started doing that as well. I'm fed up of being infected by shit. And that's not it. That's not even audio. That's visual. Like, team of the tournament with Harry Maguire in it. The fuck? What idiots have put that together? I mean, Harry Maguire's had a good tournament. I don't want to dig him out, but they had Harry Maguire and Vardy as centre backs, team of the tournament. I was like, oh, is Varane ineligible then? And I think Romero's done well for Argentina as well. They're in the bloody final. What about the lads for Morocco? I just think. Look, people are laughing in the chat. This is the world we live in the UK. Our media is biased. You talk about North Korea and other dictatorships. I often wonder, just how low key the football media in this country is a dictatorship, or stupid probably. I mean, Maguire had a decent tournament. I don't think he was better than John Stones. So where's John Stones then? But Varane has been the centre back of the tournament. France have been shaky at times. He's been brilliant. He played the ball that got the first goal against Morocco. I mean, I think it was 1-0 anyway, wasn't it? I can't remember now. I binned it. But it was his through ball that played that. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting that there are experts out there doing players of the tournament, teams of the tournament, and not even putting Varane in it, who has been absolutely world-class for France and United when he's played this season, let's not forget. But he ain't got an English passport, so forget about it. It's a nonsense, is it? This is why I'm so pleased that we have the United Stand, and that's football, and we can converse live and interact and debate, and, sometimes we disagree. Robert McCormack will come in with something about loving Maguire or McTominay, and we'll have a chat, and it's great. But mainstream, with the ears and eyes of millions talking shite, is an irritant, because they're wrong. Like it's not even an opinion. You are wrong to not put Rafael Varane as number one centre back. Forget whether he makes. There's two centre backs in a team of the tournament. The number one centre back of this tournament is Rafael Varane. Anybody with a brain can see it. I've seen people I respect say, you know what, I'm not a massive fan of Varane, but he's been absolutely world class this tournament. He has been. He's brilliant. And I thought Casemiro was probably midfield. I mean, I don't think he was in. I mean, again, look, I don't think this team of the tournament had Casemiro in it. So we're putting Harry Maguire in, who got knocked out in the quarterfinals, but we're not putting Casemiro in. Why's Casemiro not in it then? Well, got knocked out in the quarterfinals. Yeah, you've just put Maguire in there, and we conceded two goals against France. Why is Casemiro not in the team of the tournament then? Casemiro was fucking brilliant for Brazil. Brilliant. I would say that if we're counting players from the quarterfinals, Casemiro's got to be in team of the tournament. But no, Brazil got knocked out, so he can't be in it. Oh yeah, because it's a centre defensive midfielders problem that they got knocked out on penalties. And he took a bloody brilliant penalty, the best penalty of the lot. I thought Casemiro was absolutely magnificent. And I'm looking forward to United getting back, because if those two players come back fit, Casemiro and Varane, then again, they haven't got an English passport, so they're not being, given the credit they deserve. But I think they've been absolutely incredible. And I really, really have enjoyed it. People saying, can you talk about Ander Herrera? I appreciate that he cried when he was asked about leaving Manchester United. I empathise with that, because I remember the United stand has been around for long enough. I was furious when Ander Herrera left. I mean, I really liked Ander Herrera. If you want to, I know it's a trip down memory lane, and even I don't like doing this. I mean, it's nostalgia. I mean, Ander Herrera crying about leaving Man United a few years ago. It's sad. We shouldn't have let him go, but it's years ago. He's not going to come back and solve our problems now, is he? I mean, at the end of the day, all Ander Herrera's doing is crying and telling us that United's board is incompetent. Slow Sports News, Ander. Here's a tissue. Slow Sports News. Let me put my yellow tie on. Unbelievable. Ander, I'm with you, pal. I'm with you. Let's have a hug. Slow Sports News, though. United board is rubbish. I can't believe it, Ander. You've given us some breaking news there. No, it's sad, but this is what he said. Leaving was difficult because 6 months before I expected an offer to stay. It's not the time to speak ill of someone, and I'm not going to do it. But after my third season, I expected a little more from the club at that time. I was awarded Player of the Year by the fans, and the club didn't call me that summer to sign a new contract like they did with other players. It was painful for me. Honestly, I think I deserved a new deal. At the end of the third season, 3 titles, Player of the Year, and they didn't call me during the summer. So I was a little disappointed, and then they called me when I had a year left on my contract, and they weren't good for me. So, look, look, at the end of the day, that is not breaking news. It's not. Man United messed it up. On a very business level, United messed it up. At that time, Ander Herrera was 28, 29, 25 million quid. Easily worth 25 million quid. We let him run his contract down. We let him go for nothing. So even if you think Ander Herrera shouldn't have stayed, even if you think we should have given him a contract, what did they do? They let his contract run down, and they let 25 million walk out the door, just like they did with Jesse Lingard in the summer. There's 50 million quid there. Gakpo's fee is there. This is one of the things that irritates me about United. You can go through every transfer window, and you can add money up that we've wasted. And it's not always paying £30 million more than we paid for Anthony. There's 30 million straight away that we shouldn't have paid extra on Anthony, but we had to because we were desperate at the end of the window instead of doing it in June. Ander Herrera walked out the door, 25 million quid we could have got for him. Jesse Lingard walked out the door for free, 25 million quid we could have got for him. So we're just, this is why we need a change. This is why we need new ownership, because it's not nice seeing Ander Herrera saying he never wanted to leave in the first place and crying, but he never should have been allowed to leave in the first place. And I remember doing the video. You could search Ander Herrera on the United stand and you'll find me going, this is a big mistake, we shouldn't be letting him go. And I remember somebody who was on the channel at the time saying, no, I don't actually think he's that good, we can do better. We never replaced him. So how can you do better when you don't... who replaced Ander Herrera? Scott McTominay. That was United's plan. It was Scott McTominay who came through, not a new signing. And I tell you what, Ander Herrera's for me, 10 times the player that McTominay will ever be. So we shouldn't have let him go, no, but it happened. He marked Hazard so well, no one ever had to again, to Stephen Lopez. Look, Ander Herrera was an interesting player. Ander Herrera, for me, is a bit like Rudiger at Chelsea. It's just a shithouse. But when it's your shithouse, they're so... You know, remember when he spat on the Man City badge walking off the Etihad? Or wiped his foot on it, you know. He's the sort of player you want on your team, and we shouldn't have let him go. And I think he actually would have been very, very useful for us over the last few years. And I think he would have been, you know what, as funny as it sounds, I think he would have been a very valued player under Solskjaer. But yeah, there's not a lot we can do. What's going wrong with Mark's voice? It's Daniel. It's a bit deep because I've been on the booze last night, so it always makes me feel a bit like that. It's concerning Man United's lack of friendlies. All the top four played or playing in the next few days. That's a big worry for me, says Dan. We played Everton behind closed doors on Wednesday, I think it was. Drew 1-1. So yeah, we obviously had the two games in Spain. We played Everton on Wednesday behind closed doors 1-1, and I was told that there's a get behind the closed doors game this weekend as well. I just don't know who it is. So we are doing stuff. The details of the 1-1 with Everton is we don't know the lineup and we don't know the scores, and I'm surprised the scorers. I'm surprised it hasn't been leaked, because United do leak. But maybe that says a lot about the players who aren't currently here, and maybe it says a lot about who's leaking information. I don't know, but the information I got was that 1-1, Kevin Sheedy scored for Everton, and then a late equaliser from Jemba. But I suspect that might not be accurate, but yeah, take it as it was. But 1-1 was apparently. Jadon Sancho on loan. Have you heard about that, says Joy. I have heard about Jadon Sancho loan, and nothing would surprise me more. But then this is Manchester United, and look, the Sancho thing has been spoken about more than it probably needs to be. There's a player there struggling, and the club are managing and supporting. And I think he'll be back, and I hope he'll be back playing well for Manchester United. But there is an issue there. And when there is an issue, did you think in the summer that Cristiano Ronaldo was going to end up doing a public interview with Piers Morgan? I would have laughed. I'd have said, you're having a laugh. And it happened. So would I sit here and say there's no chance that Jadon Sancho is going to go on loan somewhere in January? I don't think there's much of a chance. I think there's next to zero chance, because I don't think that's what Sancho or United or Ten Hag want to do. But if that issue is a little bit bigger than we thought, and if there is a breakdown in relationship with the club and Sancho and Ten Hag, then probably he would go on loan. But we'd need to know more, and I don't think that's the case. I think that Ten Hag and the club and Sancho are working together, and I don't see a situation where he goes on loan. Throwing it back a bit, it's very scary that the media wants these homegrown heroes. I saw some people thinking Rice is better than Casemiro. It's dangerous, says Lee. The English, and I am English, but the English media want Southgate to stay. This is a guy that Morocco played better against France than when they were 1-0 down than we did, but we thought we did something special. We thought because we dominated France when France were already in front, we did something special, and then we realised against Morocco that France score and then they sit back and let the opposition have the ball. So we did nothing special against France. In fact, we lost. This is a guy who has got Marcus Rashford, one of the informed players in the tournament, with 3 goals, and he brings on Raheem Sterling, who's just had his house robbed and been in England and only trained 1 day. But this is a guy that the English think is a great manager, Southgate. The judgment of the English media is, and has been for a long time, very, very bad. We also overhype what we've got. I remember when Rooney came through and he was going to be the world's best ever player. Michael Owen was going to be the world's best ever player. Steven Gerrard was better than Lothar Matthäus. You know, Frank Lampard was better than Zidane. This is what we do. You know, Harry Maguire and John Stones are basically Beckenbauer and Maldini. It's what we do. And you hit an age of experience and you just go, I ain't listening to that shite. Not listening to that shite. Declan Rice is a good player. He ain't never going to be Casemiro. Casemiro is going to go down as one of the best CDMs of the last 30 years. Declan Rice will not do that. Jordan Henderson will not do that. Jordan Henderson's a very good player. He's not Casemiro. Like, no centre-back in England is Varane. He's going to go down as one of the best French centre-backs of all time. So We just don't appreciate people in this country with our media if you've got a foreign passport. And if you've got a British passport, we'll overhype you. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point Scott McTominay's been likened to Casemiro. It's what we do. And but it's nothing new. It's been going on for years and years and years. And you'll get one of these journalists who will come on to TalkSport or the BBC or something, and they'll sit there and tell you why this player's good. And I'm just hearing, you know, the best of the Spice Girls, because it's shit. I'm just hearing shit, you know? All nations, media, press support their own players. England are not the only ones who practice this nasty habit, says Ronald. Yeah, but I think the football fan, we have become more educated, and we have more of a voice now, and the media becomes more ridiculed because of it. Because they used to have I was thinking about this morning. I used to have a paper round on a Saturday morning. Not now, not in my 30s, but when I was like a early teenager, I'd get up and I'd deliver papers. There was no mobile phones, there was no internet. All we had was coal for Christmas. No, but there was no internet, there was no phones, so you deliver a paper. And you had teletext, which I'm not even going to get into. But so those journalists for the Sun or the Daily Mail or anything like that, they were basically dictators. Like, there was no internet, there was no YouTube, there was no Twitter, there was no conversation. You consumed what you were told, and yes, down the pub or at school you discussed it, but you didn't have a voice. Now you've got a voice. Now fans have got a voice, and these people with their idiocies or agendas or odd opinions, quite rightly, get called out. I love teletext. It was brilliant. If you know what teletext is, it is Christmas nostalgia. I'm getting my Sabooty out this afternoon. One thing I did just want to say, I was walking back last night. I'd had a few to drink, and everyone else was getting a taxi, and I was like, I'm just going to walk back. And they were like, what are you doing? It's freezing. And I'm like, I need my space. I need my space. At the end of the night, I like a walk home. Time with myself, time to think. It's just who I am. It's the path I walk. And if you want this, then let me walk home, because it's just the way my mind works. So I'm walking home, sort of having a conversation in my head. Christmas, nice few drinks. And you know what the first conversation I had in my head? How the fuck did we spend £50 million on Aaron Wan-Bissaka? That was the first thing that came into my head. And I started having this argument as I was walking home in my head. How did we spend £50 million on Aaron Wan-Bissaka? Like, I like Wan-Bissaka. Forget Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Forget Anthony. Forget Maguire. I'm not talking about the individuals. I think they're all decent players. I'm talking about Man United's transfer business. How did we spend £50 million on Wan-Bissaka, £80 million on Harry Maguire, and £85 million on Anthony? How did we do that? So I'm, 2 sheets to the wind, had a few pints last night, walking home in the cold, hands in my pockets, basically walking along the road. Now, if anyone was on the other side of the road and they could hear me, they'd probably think I was crazy. Well, I'm not crazy. As I'm walking along going, how? But how? How do you spend £50 million on Aaron Wan-Bissaka? And people probably walking past going, what? We need to call someone. But I was walking too fast, keeping warm. But I just kept saying, how did we spend £50 million on Aaron Wan-Bissaka? And again, I like Wan-Bissaka. I think he's a good player. But how did we give Crystal Palace £50 million for Aaron Wan-Bissaka? And who thought it was a good idea? I mean, Crystal Palace must have been like, when you're walking along the road and you find £100 and you pick it up and you think, I can't believe it. Well, they just found £50 million. He has been linked to Wolves, but I think sometimes, especially in this time of reflection and new ownership, I think sometimes it's worth just going, we spent £50 million on Aaron Wan-Bissaka. We spent £80 million on Harry Maguire. What were we thinking? What are you doing? Why? Who signed that off? What type of idiots do we have working at this football club? The best in Manchester. I mean, again, I think Wan-Bissaka's decent. I think Maguire's decent, and I think Anthony's very exciting. But it's not, people get locked in on you're having a pop at the player. The player didn't Aaron Wan-Bissaka didn't drive up to Manchester with a price tag of 50 million on. You know, he's out of it. Man United want the player. He wants to go to Man United, and then these prats get involved in the deal. And you know, this is something that we desperately need to resolve from now on. Hopefully under new ownership, because Ed Woodward, Richard Arnold, Matt Judge, and God knows who else, John Murtagh, all these people had their fingers in that pie. And we need to clear all of that away. Because if I'm buying Man United, I'm doing my homework, and I'm sitting the people down that are still at that football club, and I'm saying, right, it's not, I don't want to hear it's a new day, we start again. I want to learn from the past. That £50 million deal that we paid Crystal Palace, why? At what point did you start to bid above his real price of 30? And why did you nearly play double? Next one, Harry Maguire, 80 million quid. At what point did you think he was worth more than 55? And why? And last summer, Anthony, 85, who was available for 50 in June. What prat did that? And I think we do need to learn from the past, because there are some decisions in that football club that get swept under the carpet, and you know, or even me, it took a few drinks last night to get it in my head. It's abysmal. Some of our business is abysmal. And why is it relevant now? Because yes, Wolves are linked to Aaron Wan-Bissaka in the summer, in January, but there ain't no way they're gonna give us even half of 50 million, and they'll also have to pay him the wages of 100 grand a week. So these decisions of the past that they want to sweep under the carpet are still biting us on the arse today. We can't move these players out, even if we want to, because we're basically chained to those bad decisions. Hi Mark, the wage grabbers who are still at the club, don't play, unwanted, need to go. And Merry Christmas, says Dasbo. Thank you very much. Is it true Tyler Adams is linked to United, says Frostbite? I would like to think so, but I don't think we'll do anything. I don't think we'll do anything with him. Difficult to get a player out of Leeds, and he's not even been there a year, so I don't see anything happening with that. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. We are doing the 3rd, 4th place playoff game on That's Football at 3 o'clock if you want to tune in for the chat for that. I'm not promising it'll be a great game, but there will be some chat there. You can join the members club by clicking the join button, of course. We've got our little Christmas quiz coming up, and we've also got a couple of quizzes that you can play with that today. And 8 o'clock tonight, 8 o'clock show tonight. It will be Goldbridge in the seat. I'm sure my voice will be back to normal as well. Are you going to be on Twitch later, says Sean? I might do Twitch, but it depends. Because of the 3 o'clock game, I might do it at like 5 o'clock. So we'll see how we go. I was going to do it at 3. I thought the playoff game was tonight. But thanks, everyone. Take care, everyone. And I'll speak to you all in a bit.